Hi everyone, Trina here, and I believe this is Origin 6.1, and we will be getting into the balance of the universe and the elements of fire, water, air, and earth, and how they are formed through the four. So we will begin with 6.1, Origins of Soul, and here we go. So, the balance of the universe, a dance of sacred union, mirrored in other ancient symbols. One of the most beautiful is the Star of David, a Hebrew symbol that fits perfectly over the flower of life. The Star of David is composed of two intersecting triangles. One is pointing up, the other is pointing down, representing the union of spirit and matter in its masculine and feminine properties. In Hermetic wisdom, the Star of David represents the merging of the four alchemical symbols representing the elements air, earth, water, and fire. These four elements represent, respectively, our mental, physical, emotional, and life force natures, generating the shape of the legendary alchemical philosopher's stone that extends life and symbolizes enlightenment and bliss. When these four elements are in equilibrium, the soul has achieved mastery over itself. Thus, the Star of David not only represents the activation of the spiritual Buddha body found in the sixth dimension, but the four elements that make up the entire cosmos. That is very interesting. The Buddha body found in the sixth dimension. See, this is what I've seen. A doll inside of a doll, inside of a doll, inside of a doll. So I see this is my human body, and then above that, I have another body that looks like this body, and above that, I have a different body, and then it keeps going up, and they transmute with their vibration. So they're saying that the sixth dimensional body is the Buddha body, which is still going to be in these lower astral realms within this dimension. So even when you're seeing these bodies, you need to understand they're not gods, they're you. They're just different aspects of your energetic magnificence. So anything that you can see in this visible light construct in all of these dimensions is still matter, and matter is carbon, and carbon is a replicating based molecule. So understand it's a replication from the original. So everything that we see here truly is an illusion. It's a reflection cast off in a mirror from your molecular structure, producing your image and your physical body through consciousness, energy, and water. So these are the moving elements that form us. And with that, we have many bodies and many layers of energy bodies wrapped around this body. And as above, so below. So I hope that helps you guys understand the fullness of what you truly are. So next we get into, I want to show you first the Hebrew Star of David within the Egyptian flower of life. Oops. Isn't that beautiful? So then next we get into the four elements merged into union. The divine, mother, and father. And this is the diagram that they show for that. So, fire and air are the masculine elements, while water and earth are considered feminine. These four elements exist in everything in various proportions, and the ancients believed that each dimension has a predominance of one over the other. The third dimension is the realm of earth, while the astral plane is akin to water. The mental is ruled by air, since thoughts rule manifestation. The higher planes exist as brilliant realms of fire and light. This is where I see the plasma dragons, and I see the seraphim, which are the four-faced gods, all surrounded by white fire. It's I can't see all of it. I've gotten glimpses of it, but I can't see it all the way because it's too bright, I guess would be the right word. You just can't stare directly at these things. They're too much for our visible, physical, conceptual things we can perceive with our eyes. Even the astral eye, it was tough. So, the Hermetica reminds us, by Atum's will, the elements of nature were born as reflections of this primal thought in the waters of potentiality. These are the primary things, the prior things, the first principles in all the universe. Atum's word is the creative idea, the supreme limitless power which nurtures and provides for all things that thought and it created. All that we see and all that we don't see comes from the divine Mother and Father, or the emanating principles of truth and love. These overlapping energies form the eye of God, the doorway through which spirit moves into the world of matter. This is known as the eye of Ra, or the eye of Horus. Ra is the doorway of light, while Horus is the doorway of truth. These two names, Ra and Horus, symbolize the awakening of the two hemispheres of our brain. When combined, it allows us to open up to our inner sight, a portal to the doorway of heaven, the gateway where each soul stands at the moment of creation. Thus, many cultures use the all-seeing eye to represent the omniscience of the Creator itself. Furthermore, as we look into the cosmos, we find each galaxy is enveloped in an energy field that looks both like a cosmic egg or a Torah. So each of these millions of galaxies recently discovered by modern scientists reveal a plethora of cosmic eggs floating in a great sea of a cosmos. The exact image once shared by the sages in the mystical literature of the Vedas. I have seen that. I tried to have God show me what he was one time, and it's a he, she, it's both. But he laughed at me and he said, okay. And I started to see, and I went off Earth and I went through the solar system, and then through the solar system, I burst forth into another system, and it was so overwhelming. And once I burst forth out of that, I could see a cosmos. And once I burst forth out of the cosmos, it went back to another point of light and into another cell, which was inside of a whole body of cells. It was so overwhelming. It was too much for my brain. So I was like, stop. And then it stopped. And then they were laughing at me, and I was like, what's so funny? And then he showed me a thimble on his pinky, like showed me a thimble on the pinky, and he took the thimble off the pinky and he held it up and he poured out the thimble, and like one little drop came out, and he laughed. He goes, that's how much you could handle. And I was like, oh man, really? So we can't perceive God. We can't perceive creation. It's just too big for our human brains. It's too big. So understand, we are so much more than what we can comprehend with our human bodies in this human template. So the more that you can get inside of your mind into that balanced point of the stillness of the eye of Horus, the eye of Ra, the window of truth and love, which is inside of your mind, and it's connected to your heart. When you can tap into these energies, which, guys, it's really simple to do this. It's kind of hard. Like for me, I always had a natural ability to do this, but as I got older, I started to lose my connection. And by doing meditation and guided trance work with people you trust, it's so crazy because your imagination is the gate. And when you get into your imagination, that's how you travel into the eye. It's all it is. It is literally that simple. You're in trance when you're in traffic and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I don't remember driving that far. That's trance. When you're in school and the teachers are like, stop daydreaming, you're in trance. We're in trance a lot. And we just don't remember or understand that this is part of what we're doing with our brain. So the trance part of us is one of the most powerful gifts that we have. And the more that you work with these different layers and levels of vibration within your own mind, the easier it is to tap into them. And then before long, you'll be where you can hear at the same time. Whether you're conscious in theta, delta, delta, it doesn't matter. You consciously have an awareness of your internal workings. So that's the connection, getting back to the connection with Source, connecting back to the true God that's within you, which is that spark of light, and light is consciousness. So this is all connected to what we put in our mind, what we put in our brains. This literally is how you shift your reality, because literally we manifest what we see. So to change your world and change your reality, you must change what you see. And the best way to do that is to use your imagination and meditate and explore consciousness, because truly the universe is within you, and you can travel beyond this universe through the stargates within your own being, and nothing else. Don't ever trust anything else to get you there. This has to be done through you. You are the key. You are the key holder. You are all of it. It is all you. But when we embrace each other and we walk each other through these processes, I swear it works a lot faster and sometimes a lot better. And the two hemispheres of the brain, this is what the Lord has been showing me for quite some time, is that we have two hemispheres in our brain, one masculine, one feminine. He says you must marry the two. You must marry the two hemispheres of your mind. You must honor the divine feminine, and you must honor the divine masculine. And then when you come into balance with the masculine and feminine within your own being, this is when the Christ is born. This is when you become anointed. And this is the Christos, which comes through the spine. And this is the kundalini energy. And these are all completely natural responses in the body. Through breath, you can create DMT. Through an orgasm, we create DMT. Through listening to music that gives you goosebumps, produces DMT. These are the divine miracle chemicals that open up the eye. And you can open up the eye just by instructing the eye to open. and going through that process, knowing I am balancing my mind. I am awakening the Christ. And then just use your imagination and you will go. This is how you can do it so simply. There's 1,000 paths to open your eye, and no one will do it the same way. So do what works for you. Trust your process, because the divinity that is inside of you is unique to the cosmos. And the way you do things is a gift to all of us, because your uniqueness and our uniqueness is what creates the fullness. Because like I said, God is so big, none of us can hold it. So we have to share. So, okay. Furthermore, as we look out into the cosmos, we find that each galaxy is enveloped in an energy field that looks like a cosmic egg. So all of the millions of galaxies recently discovered reveal a plethora of cosmic eggs floating in a great sea of cosmos. The exact image once shared by the sages in the mystical literature of the Vedas. Behind the Vesica Pisces is the great primordial intelligence. This is the being that I call Domalar, one of the 9 intelligences of the Council of 9. She is a place of endless possibilities, the merging of spirit with matter that allows all life to come into being and all worlds to form. The Hermetica reminds us that the cosmos, which is in our sense perspective, it is a copy, an image of the eternal cosmic mind. And this is what I see over and over again. Everything we see here is a copy. From its first foundation, there has never existed a single thing that which was not alive. And thus, from the microcosm to the macrocosm, this living template permeates the entire universe. The Son of the Begotten. From this first Trinity that includes the Divine Mother and the Divine Father and Domalar, their place of union, the son and daughter are born. The son is often described as a solar male, while his sister, the daughter, is the lunar reflection. Yet in truth, all of these beings are beyond the kind of duality that we as humans ordinarily perceive. As a result, they are both lunar and solar aspects to each of them, because while they exist to create balance in the world, they themselves are whole and complete beings. They do not possess duality. They are whole. These are the true divine beginnings where we come from. In some cultures, we find goddess like the Egyptian Sekhmet or the Japanese Amaterasu, who are solar feminines. Likewise, they are expressions of the lunar male, like Thoth and Nanar in Sumeria. In the incoming age of the Aquarius, these male and female aspects of the divine will return to balance once again, both in the world at large and in our personal expressions in the world. The astrological sign of Aquarius is known for its androgynous qualities. It is ruled by the element of air, or spirit, or ether, or astral, or understanding. The ether or spirit. So, at this age, our societies will move back into balance, with both genders being honored. Over the last 2,000 years, during the age of Pisces, that is just ending, the male principle was symbolized by the solar lion as the light of the world, while the daughter was marginalized and maligned and forgotten. But these two beings, the son and the daughter of God, are embodied within the trifold flame, the sacred heart, and they represent our own potential for divine union. This is why Jesus is always being shown holding in his chest the threefold, trifold flame. The trifold flame is composed of the pink rose ray of the Divine Mother, and the blue violet ray of the Divine Father, and the golden ray of the Holy Child. In Egypt, the solar male was optimized by Osiris, and later by Horus, his son, while Isis, the mother of wisdom, was the female expression of the Christ energies. The Inca called the solar male Intrajust, as he was the Lu to the Celts, and Helios to the Greeks. Christians, Jesus. Arabic, Isa, the living Christ. When this Christed energy is ignited, it moves up the spine, igniting our halo and signaling the merging of the little self or the personal ego with our angelic twin, the higher self. This ancient symbol for this activation is the caduceus, the staff of enlightenment, the symbol brought to humanity by Thoth, the founder of all mystery schools. Traditionally, this staff was only carried by master initiates who had attained this state. Today, the caduceus is used as an emblem of healing in medicine, yet that it really illustrates the awakening of the sympathetic masculine and the parasympathetic feminine. These are the nervous systems moving up the spine. When joined, these two currents activate the central nervous system that conducts the kundalini energy up the spine to the crown, awakening the pineal gland in the center of the brain. This in turn awakens the inner sight, allowing the soul to have access to the higher realms of light. And literally, this is your imagination. People put such big concepts onto this. And literally, this is a completely natural process within each and every one of us. It just takes a little while to remember how to activate it, because we've been dead down with the fluoride and everything. It's calcifying the pineal gland, and it's making it very hard to connect. So just imagine light bursting out of your pineal gland, decalcifying it, and bathing it with the golden oils of the Christos. And it's like bathing, and that bathing will help open back up those abilities for you to see. 90% of all of this work is intention, and the other is just trusting that it will be done. Never doubt that what you command to be done will manifest, because it will, especially if you think about it and you feel about it long enough. It will manifest. It has no option. It's how it works. So, the daughter of God, not forgotten. The daughter is known in the Talmud as the Shekinah, the breath of God. Her symbol is the snake, the perfect emblem for the sine wave in which all light and sound must travel, the carrier of the Holy Spirit through space and time. Her movement is found in the rhythm of our heartbeat, the graph of our brainwaves, the oscillation of magnetic fields, and the rising and falling of ocean tides. The Shekinah carries the light of her brother and the sound of her mother, allowing all worlds to come into existence. She is the intelligence hidden in our undulating DNA and the delivery mechanism through which sound, light, and movement travel through space. In ancient traditions, this undulating energy was symbolized by the snake, the symbol of mystical wisdom. In Egypt, she was called Uchatbutu, ancient of ancients. In North, South, and Central America cultures, she was the grandmother snake, the bringer of enlightenment, still revered by the ayahuasca shamans today. This is the energy they're working with. They're working with the serpent wisdom and the earth goddess energies. And this is why it's definitely a nature trip when you do the ayahuasca. I've never done it, but people who take these journeys, they're all brought straight into the earth energies. And that's the serpent wisdom and the nature wisdom and the feminine wisdom. They show now the symbol of the caduceus and the serpent as the Shekinah. Isis holds in all of the old traditions we find priestess. They stand holding two serpents, one in each hand, symbolizing the two nervous systems used in the process of enlightenment. The tubular serpentine shape can also be found in the human body as the esophagus, the intestines, the male and female organs of production. Carl Jung wrote that the snake is the word-creating spirit, concealed or imprisoned in matter. The oldest symbol in alchemy. When she transforms into the winged serpent, she becomes the morning star, an emblem of the soul's discovery of its true angelic nature. Thus, this is also the shape that has created our entire solar system. It moves around the galactic center, inscribing a large cosmic serpent, reminiscent of the Oroborus, which is and was the symbol used by the ancients to represent the passage of time. It is unfortunate that in the last 2,000 years, the real meaning of the serpent has been demonized by dualistic, fear-based dogma of the patriarchal religions. Yet, when we stop to think about it, the snake is the only animal that is reborn while it is still alive. The perfect symbol for our own process of spiritual initiation. Today, humanity is beginning to emerge from the fear-based misogyny of millennia of male-dominated religion. And yet, when we look around us, we can see that there are still places where women are intellectually and socially controlled, killed, or repressed by their male masters. Nevertheless, any true look at the universe has always and will always include both the divine masculine and the divine feminine as equal partners in creation. The more we can return our own lives to this balance, the faster we will restore this broken world into wholeness. This is what they show for the coil of the serpent, and this is reflected in the cosmos. This is reflected in our DNA. This is reflected in many different ways. And this, when I came to the understanding that everything that I see here is a reflection, a copy from my true original divinity, that this is all an illusion because it's based on copies of the real thing. When I realized that, I had a profound gnosis, and the vision, I was all of a sudden standing in like the bottom of the Grand Canyon, and the Lord was with me, and I was like, what are we doing here? And he wouldn't speak to me for the first time in my life. And this was when I was asking about false idols, religion, dogma. I was like, oh my God, is this a soul trap? Are these beliefs that are attached to this world the ultimate soul trap? And I was like, oh my gosh, if it is, I rebuke it all. And I want to connect to the true source of my being, my true God, my true foundation, which is never going to be a copy or an illusion. It will be real, and it will be love, and it will be in truth. And when I went to my knees and prayed on this, I had that vision. So I'm in the Grand Canyon, and I'm with the Lord, and it's the first time in my life he wouldn't talk to me. And I was like, why won't you talk to me? And he would not speak. And I was like, what is going on? So I'm looking around, and there's this sheer gold cliff, like in the Grand Canyon, with a river running up against it. And he just kept looking at the water. And I was like, what are you looking at? So he keeps looking at the water. And I was like, what is this? And what do you want me to see? And he wouldn't speak to me again. And I was like, okay, fine. What is this? Is this some kind of a test? And then he looked at me, and he handed me a knife. And I was like, what is this for? You know, I was completely confused. He'd never handed me a knife, ever. So I was like, what is this? And he kept looking at the water. So I was like, and he wouldn't speak. So I was like, fine. So I took the knife, I started marching towards the water. Here I go. I get to the water, I start getting closer, and I'm like, hold the phone. There was a huge serpent in the water, and it was in the water, breathing the water, like drawing the water into itself. And it was probably 20 or 30 feet long. This thing was huge. And I have this little tiny knife, okay? Little knife, not even a big one, little one, maybe yay long. So I'm like, oh, you losing your mind right now if you think I'm going to take on that serpent with this little bitty knife. I was like, oh, this is crazy train right now. There's no way. I'm like, there is no way. And I looked at him. I'm like, what is going on? And again, he wouldn't talk to me. I'm like, okay, now I'm getting mad. I'm like, this is some kind of screwed up test. I'm like, and you're not going to talk to me? Because I've always gone to you for my guidance, for like, help me out here. I'm stuck. And there was nothing coming from him. So it was telling me, this is all on you, sugar. This has got to be all on you. So I was like, okay, this is some kind of a test. So I marched into the water, about up to my knees, and I went to the head of the serpent. And when I looked at her face, I don't know why I knew it was female, but her mouth was an O, a perfect circle, because snakes are triangles. This was a circle mouth. It was like an O. And she was drawing in the river. And I looked at her, and I was like, I don't know why I'm here, and I don't know why I got this knife, but apparently I'm supposed to cut you open, because I intuitively knew this. I don't know how, but I knew. And I was like, but I don't want to hurt you, and I have no problem with you. And I was like, do I have permission to do this? And the snake turned its head from drawing at the water straight ahead. It turned and it looked straight at me through the water, and it smiled. And then she put her head back and drew it back and started drawing the water again. And I was like, okay, here we go. So I walked up to the belly of the serpent, and I plunged the knife in, and I ripped it open. And then I just knew, reach inside. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me now. I don't want to do this. This is not working for me. Oh, this was hard for me to do. Super hard for me. It was against everything in my constitution on the physical realm. Oh yeah, go take on a 30-foot snake and then dig your hands in it guts. Yeah, no, this is not my deal. So this was not resonating with me at all. But I was like, I knew I had to do it. So I reached my hands inside this serpent and there was a body in there. And then I was like, oh my God. Oh, I'm freaking out at this point. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm trying to pull it out and it's like as big as me and it's heavy and it's sleeping and it's like not moving. I didn't know if it was dead or what. So I'm struggling to pull this body out of this serpent. So I yell for the Lord. I'm like, come and help me. So he came and he grabbed the bottom part and I was pulling, trying to get to the head. And I finally got to the top. And when we pulled it all the way out, when I saw the face, it was me. And I was in a coma. I was asleep. I couldn't wake up. And I looked like a baby. You know how babies have that see-through like skin and they're pearly and they have the vernix all over their body? It was slippery like that. Like I just birthed my own body. Oh man, this was traumatizing for me. I was like freaking out. So I start screaming out the Lord. I'm like, you take her to the Father and you fix this now. And I was filled with fire. Fire like that came inside me. Like I was so like, this is not right. Something inside me was like, this is not right. And I was like, this will be fixed now. And I said, you take her. And he literally scooped her up and took me, Sleeping Beauty, whatever this thing was, and he took her and the light opened and I saw them go into this huge light. So then I'm standing in the Grand Canyon with a knife covered with snake goo, completely freaked out, going, I don't understand any of this. What is happening? This is completely off the hook. I don't understand this. And I'm just sitting there like, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm still here. I was like, just freaking out. And then all of a sudden, this voice of 1,000 voices mixed with thunder, it spoke. And it spoke so clearly. And it said, my child, you have now been set free from the watery grave of which you slept. My child, you have been set free from the bondage of the serpent. And then I still kind of didn't know what that really meant. Just to be totally honest, I really didn't. But I knew it had something to do with breaking my chains in this construct and breaking the bonds of matter. And that I would be returning to my true family and my true father and mother, which is nothing that you would ever see in this entire construct. Because all that we see here is we are trapped inside of a serpent, and the serpent is, I think, the genetic code. So that's what I've come to know. And any kind of worship outside of yourself is a soul trap. That's why he said, you must tell them of the Jesus trap. Because it's not me. It's an image. And that makes it a false idol. But there is a real Christ. I know him. The Lord, he is real. But the one that I was connecting to in this construct was the imitator. It was the copycat. And it wasn't the true one. The real one, we can't see. Not with these eyes. You can only see it with your heart. But you won't see it. If you see it, it's you. It's a reflection of you, or it's a copycat. So that was a pretty profound lesson. So hopefully many of you can find something similar or find a truth that will help set you free. Because I think that's why we're here. We're here to balance masculine and feminine, and eventually break free from this illusion. So I love you. We will continue very soon with 6.2, and we're getting into angels, divas, and mortals. So much love. Talk to you soon. Favor and joy be with you all. In abundance, may it overflow. Namaste.